Okay, so let's start with actually placing points on axes. You'll notice if I place a point on the y-axis, first notice that it's not dark blue and it's not black, it's a little lighter blue. It means it's restricted on the y-axis. So I can go up and down, but if I drag left and right, it won't move off the y-axis. Same thing with the x-axis. So I can move left and right, but not up or down, right? Not vertical. So now where would this come in handy? I tell you what, let's do one more point. Let's put at the origin. You can see that one's black, so that means I can't move it left, right, up, or down. So it'll fix it at the origin if I place point at the origin. Let's do a couple line segments. I'll go from A to C, from C to B, and then from B to A. Do my pointer. Now you can see I can move and make the triangle bigger and smaller, but that angle C stays at a right angle. So that could be helpful. You can also fix that with the angle. You can fix the angle to 90 degrees if you wanted to. Let's delete all those, so Shift, delete. Let's do this. Let's place a point on the y-axis. Okay, let's type in an equation for a line. But now I want to make that point A the actual y-intercept, so I'll do plus. I want the y-coordinate of A. So now you can see as I move A, I'm actually moving the line just by the y-intercept. And students can't move it left or right, so if you wanted to fix it like that. Okay. Another key point, if you want to put a slider, there's a little shortcut for the input bar. You just do a lowercase letter and then do a number, okay, and it'll show up. You'll notice it created a slider, but it didn't show up because it isn't selected. So if I select it, I get my slider. Okay, so it's a shortcut for getting the slider. Also text, if you put it in quotes on your input bar, let's do, how about this? This is text. All right. Then it'll show up as text right here. Okay, so it's a shortcut. You could also do that from here, insert text, insert slider. But these are just shortcuts to insert those options. All right, let's get on to our lesson. Delete all that stuff. Transformations, let's talk a little bit about transformations. Let's get a point, put it here, selector. So our transformations are right here on the right. So we do reflections, rotations, all that good stuff. Reflect about a line. So I can do a point or an object, but I need a line, so get rid of that point. Let's do, how about a line segment? Let's just go like that. So now when I do my reflection, all right, so reflect about a line, so I'll select the point, and then the line I will reflect about, and you see I get a prime. And I could do this for polygons. I could do it for anything, right? Reflections are just reflections. So if I wanted to make a polygon here, and then I could reflect this whole thing about a line. So I select my polygon, I select the line, and then I just did the reflection. Okay. And you can play around with all of these. And I can reflect about points, reflect about circles, I can rotate, right, and I can dilate. All right, so it's all pretty much the same stuff. Right? It's just the transformations of points and lines and shapes. Okay. All right, let's get rid of all that. I need to be on my pointer. So I select, I hit Shift, hold down Shift, so I select it all, then I'm done. All right, so now let's insert a text box. So I can do the shortcut where I insert a text box there, or I can go up to the toolbar and insert a text box. Right. You'll notice I have two parts. If you're doing the actual app, there's an advanced button. If you click the advanced button, then you'll see this. You'll see edit and then the preview. Okay, so that's helpful on the app part. You gotta hit the advanced to see what I'm seeing right now. This is the desktop version. So anything I can type in for text, so this is text, and you'll notice I get a preview, if I can spell correctly, right? And it's going to look like this is text. All right, so if I hit OK, to get into the properties, I'm actually selecting another one because again, the pointer part, so I need to be on the pointer to not redo whatever my toolbar was. So on the desktop version, I just right click, right down to properties. If you're on the app version, you're going to click the gear, right? So the gear will get you into these properties. So same stuff here. I can show, the basic stuff, fix the object. I can show the auxiliary parts. And now here's my text, right? So what we just did before. So it's more a more advanced kind of menu system here. I could change the color to any color I want. Let's change it to, I like blue. I can change the position wherever it actually starts on the screen, right? Algebra, I'm not sure what that is. And then advanced, here I have my condition to show. I can do my RGB colors, right? All that good stuff. So everything I could do to any object, right? That's what this property box is all about. All right, let's go back to text. let's say I want to do an equation. So let's do y equals 2x plus 1. All right. If I click the law text here, the formula, what it'll do is it'll make it look mathy. Right. So it'll actually change text symbols into math symbols. And whether it's on the law text or not, we can actually insert any type of symbols we want. So what if I wanted 2x plus alpha? Then I go to symbols, right, and I put alpha. Okay, and I'll explain the object through a little activity here in a second. Right, but that's the idea. So the law text is for math symbols, to change text to math. And the preview will show you exactly what's going to happen when you hit OK. Right, so I have hit OK, and you can see y equals 2x plus alpha. All right, let's actually do this. Let's explain the object part. Let's actually do a point. So let's put a point, any point anywhere. Let's get rid of our text box. So again, pointer. I'm going to just select it, delete, and let's do a quadratic. So y equals, let's do it in vertex form, x squared minus 2. How about squared? And then plus 2. So there's my vertex form. You'll notice I typed it in vertex form and it changed it to standard form. All right. If I right click, and this doesn't happen on the desktop part, or I'm sorry, this won't happen on the app part, but on the desktop it will. You can see when I right click, I actually can change it into these forms. Right. So I can change it into vertex form if I wanted to. All right. So I do have that option of those forms. So now you'll see, let's do another text box. And now if I want to actually put the equation on, I can insert this, this object. So here I'll insert object, and you can see it's A or C. What will pop up in this drop-down list is everything that's in my algebra view here. So let's do C, and you can see exactly what I have right here. So OK. All right. And now I can show in vertex form. All right. So now let's do this. Grab my parabola, and you can see as I move it around, my vertex changes, right? My H and my K change. All right, let's put the A actually at the vertex here. So what I'll do is I'll go to my equation, double click to gain access here, and then instead of the actual numbers, I want the x coordinate of A, and then scroll over, and now plus the y coordinate of A as well. And now you can see A is actually the vertex, so when I move A, I can move everything. I'm going to do something, obviously this is in vertex form, so I don't have to do this, but I want to do this activity so you can see how to input things into these equations. All right, so let's get another text box. So I'll do text box, click here, and now I'm going to type in the equation y equals x minus the x coordinate of A, right, squared, plus the y coordinate of A. And this is just like the equation I typed in here. So when I actually hit enter, I should see 2.28 and then, well, right here, 2.28 and 2.06. But you can see in my preview, oh, I need one more parenthesis. You can see in my preview, it's not going to do that. It's not going to give me the x coordinate of A or the y coordinate of A. It's going to give me x, parentheses, capital A, parentheses. Right? Because it doesn't know that this isn't text. It needs to know that it's an object I want, not text. And that's where I would go in, click here, and I can actually do either an empty box, which will just put in an object, or I can do the A coordinate part. So let's do an empty box so you can see what's going on. Look what just happened. I get this box. I get an empty box. Now GeoGebra knows that it's not text I'm putting in, it's some kind of an object I want in. So now I can do the x coordinate of A. Right? And you can see I have 2.28. And here, I don't want text, I want an object. So I can do the y coordinate of A. All right, and now I hit OK, and you can see I get the same thing. The difference here is I'm in LaTeX, so it looks a little more mathy, right? So I changed my text symbols to more of a math notation. You can also see as I drag it around, you can see they're the same, right? But they just look a little different because one is formatted for math and one's formatted for text. The one weird thing that's going to happen is I go across. What's happening here is I get a minus minus, right? Where this actually converted it to a plus already, right? So I need to fix that. So I want to show you, and again, it already has a vertex form, but it's these tools that you can use maybe in other contexts. Okay, so what I want to do is go into my text here, so I'll double click. Again, if you have the app version, you'll go to the settings, the gear. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to change these to actually represent what's going on in my my vertex form. Right? So when this is a negative, I need this to be a positive. When this is a positive, then I need this to be a negative. All right, so I'm going to actually get rid of this sign right here because I'm going to do it all myself. And I'll do this with an if statement. Okay, so I'll do if, and then first important thing about an if is you need a bracket. And let me actually write the if statement below this. So this won't be part of my text, I'll just show you. An if statement is if, you need a bracket, then you're going to get a condition, right? So some kind of Boolean condition where it's going to be true or false. Then you'll be comma, and then you'll tell GeoGebra what to do when it's true, and then you'll tell GeoGebra what to do when it's false, and then end the bracket. Okay, one thing, and I'll show you, and this is highly frustrating, it took me a while to figure out, these two expressions have to be the same data type. All right, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But that's our if statement. Okay, so I don't want that to show up, so I'll put if. Let's do if my x-coordinate is less than 0. So now that's negative. So remember, I want a negative, so I want it to return a positive. So I'll return a positive. And then if it is negative, it'll show up as negative, so I need to convert the actual negative back to a positive. All right, so I'm going to do a plus sign, and then I'm going to convert my negative to positive. So it'll put in the plus sign for me. Now, comma. So now if it's greater than 0, I need this to be a negative and then a positive number. So now I'll need a negative, right? And then it's greater than 0, so it's not going to show a plus sign. I just need the x-coordinate of A. Then I'll close my bracket, and you can see here's what it'll look like. Nothing goofy, no weird, and I'll show you when I do the y's what I mean by the same data type. So now I hit OK. You can see I changed my x-coordinate now, and you can see they match up here. If I go to the left side, then they match up pluses. All right, so I don't have that minus plus thing anymore. Okay, let's change the y now. So now y is a little different. When y is positive, since when we write positive 2, we don't put plus 2, we just put 2, I'll have to include a plus for my text. But when it's negative, the negative sign will show up. So I need an if statement, get my bracket. So let's keep it the same. Let's do less than 0. The negative sign will show up. So all I really need is the y value of A. But when it's a positive, since we don't put plus 2, we just put 2, I need to include a plus sign and then the y value of A. All right, I'll close my bracket. Now here's what I'm talking about. See the question mark? It doesn't know what I'm doing because this is going to return just a number, and here I have text and a number, and this freaks out GeoGebra. So even though I don't technically have to have a negative here because it'll be a negative, the if statement needs these both to be the same. So I need a negative here, right, to not freak out GeoGebra. Right? And then see, now all of a sudden it knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so but with my negatives, I need to change this because I'm going to do the negative myself. So now I'm going to actually have to change this to a positive, right, and I'll get the negative myself. All right. Okay, and I have 2 plus signs here because I did all that if statement to get rid of this plus sign, so I need to delete that plus sign. All right, so the 2 big things on if statements, you need brackets, and these 2 conditions, these true, false, to what to do, the if then part, they need to be the same data type. So I hit OK, and now you can see as I scroll down, I get my signs the way I want my signs to be. All right, so again, I know that the parabola has vertex form, but it's the tools that you can use to maybe in a different context. All right, so the if statements and the data types and all that good stuff. All right, let's delete all this. All right, let's use a checkbox. So I'm gonna get a checkbox. Actually, let's just get anything on the screen. So let's do a point. Let's also, for no reason whatsoever, but let's get a line. So I'll just get an equation. All right, now a checkbox is simply just appear, disappear. So when I go to my checkbox, I can put it in where I want. The caption is what it's going to read on the screen, right? So how it's going to read. So let's say turn f of x on off. So I got to let people know what the checkbox is going to do. And the checkbox is, again, it's just either make it appear or disappear. Here's my drop down. So just like we had on the text box, here's everything I have in my algebra view. So if I had 10 things here, there'd be 10 options. So I'm going to turn off the F. I'm going to select the F as an option. Make a note, you don't have to do just one thing. I can select however many objects I want. So I can link lots of objects or multiple objects to one text box. Right? I don't want that, so let's get rid of it. So I hit apply. Now you can see when it's on, And you can see right here the Boolean value. It won't label my checkbox as my caption. It actually gives it a letter. So this is the checkbox. And you can see it's checked, so it's true. If I uncheck it, again, I need to be on the pointer. That never gets annoying. If I uncheck it, it's false, and then the line goes away. If I check it, it's true, and the line comes back. Okay, so now let's say that we actually do want to add this point A. I want to show you one kind of interesting thing about the checkbox. Let's go to properties. I have the basic properties, so here's the name, all that good stuff. So what we're looking for are the inputs. Right, so when I say that, and I don't need another checkbox, but let's just put one in. So see, I have this drop-down menu, and I can select the inputs. This is what I'm looking for. All right, so when I go back, okay, not there. It's not in the color, but I could change the color. It's not in the advanced. All right, scroll. I don't see any of that, the stuff I did before. So it's not here. All right, so I can't change the inputs from the text box. What I do though, and I'll show you another kind of advanced feature, how I add things to the checkbox is I actually have to go to the objects themselves. So let's go to F here. Oh, not on the pointer, of course. That never again gets frustrating. All right, and then you'll see if I go to advanced, here's a condition to show object. And that's on every object that ever existed. And I can actually type whenever I want to have it show the object. All right. And we'll go over that a little bit in a second. But notice here, the input is actually the Boolean value. This is my checkbox. So it's saying that if my checkbox is true, show the object. If it's false, don't. So on the object itself is linked to the checkbox. So if I want to add A, let's go to the properties, go to advanced, you'll see there's no condition to show object. If I want to link it to the checkbox, then that's where I have to go to the checkbox name. So here I'll just put in A. All right, and then when I hit OK, now when I click them on and off, they'll both disappear. So now the condition to appear, I can write it as any kind of on-off that I want, right, or any kind of condition that I want. So let's go to the function f, let's go to its properties. Instead of the checkbox, let's make it the x-coordinate, or even the y-coordinate of A here. Right, so let's say y-coordinate of A, and if that's less than 0, then I want this line to appear. Well, let's actually make it greater than 0 so I can show you it's going to appear. So what this is saying is condition to appear. When this y value is greater than 0, this line will appear because I'm in the actual function. All right. So you can see it appeared. As I drag, though, it should disappear as I go below the x-axis. All right. So condition to appear, I don't have to link them to checkboxes. I can link them to anything I want. All right. Okay. So that's a checkbox which appears and makes things appear and disappear. And then the condition to show object does the same thing. Okay, so let's delete all our stuff. Checkbox, get rid of everything. All right, now let's talk about input boxes. So the weird thing about an input box is we can't use the input directly. So we're going to have to link the input box to a slider. Okay, that's the huge note here. You know, all input boxes have to be linked to sliders. So having said that, let's get a slider. And again, I could do the toolbar, or if I wanted to, I could just type in A equals 1. And I get my slider. Remember, it doesn't show automatically. So now here, by default, it went from -5 to 5. If you don't like that, then go into the properties. Right, so here's my min, my max. I can go by increments, whatever I want. Here's my actual slider aesthetics I can change, right? The speed I can change, and when it oscillates back and forth I can change, right? Or how it actually travels through the animation I can change. Let's just do -5 to 5 is fine. Okay, now let's put in an input box. All right, I'll put it in right here. Caption, so how do you want it to read on the screen? Let's just say input A. Let's be clear for slider A. We wouldn't write this if we're doing in some kind of math context, but just so you know what's going on. So input for slider A, I'll put equals. And now here's where I need to link it to an object. All right, and you'll notice here's my slider. All right, so let's do that, hit OK. And again, the inputs will be all the x values or all the algebra views I have or objects I have. And you also notice that my input box is quite large. So I can go into and this was a little weird. To get to the properties here, I have to go a little bit left, and then I can get my drop-down menu when I right-click. So here's all my text that I inputted, right? All the text I selected. I can actually change the text, small, medium, large, whatever you want. That's quite large, right? Well, I can do decimals. So if you wanted to do rounding, you can do decimals. It'll show decimals. Color, I don't know. Let's change it to red for no reason whatsoever. Style, now here's the length of the actual text, the input box. Let's go to 5. And you can see how it changed right there. Okay, I have advanced editing just to point it out. Here's the condition to appear, right? Condition to show object. I can do that for anything. So now you'll see when I change this, it actually changes my slider. Okay, so inputs have to be linked to sliders. Okay, so let's actually put this into a math context, into a formula of some sort. I don't need my slider bar, right? And I don't want people to know it's linked, so I can hide my slider bar. I like to move this around, but it must be fixed. So let's get into the properties again. And again, I can do that. I don't have to do it from the graphic screen. I can just go, so let's go to the right click. You can see here all my options. So here's my input box. It is fixed. Let's unfix it, and then I can move it around. So let's put it up here. Let's get an equation. So y equals 2x minus 1. Okay, there's my line. So what do I want my input to be, the x or the y? Right, so, or I'm sorry, the slope or the y-intercept. Let's actually make it the slope for right now. So instead of the 2, I want my slider value. So I'll put the a. Right, now I hit enter. Right, so here's my, oops. So now when I actually type, you can see that it's changing the slope. And if I wanted to, if I click in here, I can get the a instead of the slope, I can make it the y-intercept. Remember my value, all inputs are linked to sliders, and this is the name of the slider. So that's a, so hit OK. Now you can see when I change this, it changes the y-intercept. All right, so inputs linked to sliders, and then sliders will be inputs to other objects, to anything you want. Okay, so let's delete all that. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about is the spreadsheet. All right, so let's actually use the spreadsheet. Okay, so to get our spreadsheet in the desktop view, or in the desktop version, I'll just go to View and Spreadsheet. If you're going to use the app version, then you just need to click the 3 dots and get your views. Okay, and just like anything, the view I can expand or compress. All right, so here's my spreadsheet. And similar actions as Excel or Google Sheets, whatever you use, some things are a little different. So let's get some headers. Unlike Excel or Google Sheets, to type in text, I have to put it in quotes. So let's do quote. I want this to be the X value. I want this to be the Y value. I want C to be the actual, caps, point. Okay, so let's say, and just like Excel sheets, this spreadsheet is a way to do multiple things quickly. That makes sense. So let's do, how about -2 for my first X value. And now let's say I want 10 points. All right, so I want 10 ordered pairs, and I want it in a systematic way. So what I'll do is so I hit equal, and I'm going to add 1 to this value. So what this is saying is go to the A2, whatever value's in it, and add 1 to it, and the equal part is put that answer right in this cell. Okay, so you can see -2 plus 1 is -1. And now when I click, you can see this little blue rectangle on the bottom. If I click on it and hold my mouse button and drag, it'll actually fill this formula. So it's always going above and adding 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1, 4 plus 1 is 5. So it's doing that cool little formula deal. All right. And let's say for the Y value, I want to, for some reason, just add 2. So let's do this. We can do any any number of things. Let's say we want to make it, for some reason, we want to make it even all the time. So I'll do 2 times this. And then when I do that, then I'll subtract it by 3. Okay, so I want to make it even for some reason, and then I want to subtract by an odd number, and I want to change it back to odd for some weird reason. All right, so I hit enter. You can see I multiplied by 2, and I subtracted 3. If I do that, then I get all my values. Okay, so I'm going to have ordered pairs from -2 to -7 all the way to 6 to 9. All right, so I'm going to go on my GeoGebra or my geographic view, and I'm going to zoom so I can get all my points. And here I'm just taking my 2 fingers on the mouse pad, and I can actually just move it around too. All right, so now my points, I want to do equal. It's going to be an ordered pair, so that's parentheses. So GeoGebra recognizes ordered pairs, has 2 inputs as the actual point. So I want A2 and B2, the X value and the Y value. See, when I do that, it automatically puts my C2 down here. Before I drag, it's not a coincidence it's named C2, because this is actually cell C2. Right? So it'll name them whatever the cell is. And you can see I just did those 10 points very quickly. All right? So it's a way to input things onto your graphics view very, very quickly. And you'll notice they're all linked, so if I went to 7 and deleted any one of these, it'll delete everything below it, because these were on a formula. Right? So it's pretty much saying nothing plus 1. There's just nothings, nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay? Remember, I can always undo, Command Z, or do the undo, redo tabs up here. Okay? All right, to illustrate this, let's do a quick little example. So let's actually get rid of all this. So I'm going to delete everything. Oops, I can actually highlight, delete it all. I'm just going to kind of shrink it a little bit because I'm going to need it a little bit later. But let's do this. So let's zoom back in. Okay, so let's do a very, very rudimentary, how about stopwatch? And we'll do some input, some text, and we'll do all that stuff. First thing I need is a circle. So let's do a circle from the center, right, to a certain point. I want a radius here. So I'll go from the center, and then I want a radius of 5 here. So I want my b value to actually be 0. And I can extend this. Let's extend it so I can see what's going on. So I want my b value to be 0, 5. All right, so 0, 5. And now I'm guaranteed, well, not guaranteed, now I have a circle that has a radius of 5. All right, so now this is going to be my actual clock face. So now what I need the hands of the clock, or not the, so now what I need are the actual numbers on the clock. So I need 12 points, right? Starting from anywhere. So here's midnight 12, all the way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then all the way back to 12. Right? Now I can type them all in if I wanted to. I can insert points if I really wanted to. Right? I can do 12 of them. I have to make sure that they're perfectly spaced, which is fine. I can do that with the angle. Right? I can put them in at 30-degree intervals. But let's actually, since my pointer, since I have the spreadsheet, let's do it on the spreadsheet. Right, so what I want to do is, first I need a degree, so put it in quotes. That'll be my first header. Then I need the x value, and then I need the y value, and then I'll have the point. Right? Now the degree, I want to go from 0 degrees all the way around to 270. Right? Or I'm sorry, 330. I don't want 360 because 0 and 360 are the same. So I do 0, and then what am I going to do? I'll do equals the above plus 30. Okay. So why do I want 30? Because there are going to be 12 tick marks and it's 360 degrees, so 12 times 30. That's how I get my 360. All right, so now I want to go all the way down, and I'll go to 12 so that I have, one more, 13. So then I have 330 degrees. All right, so now the key is my x value will be the cosine of that angle, my y value will be the sine of that angle. So all I have to do is equals cosine of this angle. Okay. The problem here is that Excel sheets and GeoGebra here, right, it won't actually do cosine of degrees. Its default is doing cosine of radians. So either I make another column and change these all to radians, or I could change these to radians as they sit, or I can do it in the formula. So what I'm going to do is choose to do it in the formula. So how do I change to radians? I multiply by pi and I divide by 180 degrees. So pi in GeoGebra is just pi. Then I do times. Here's A2. I'm going to divide A2 by 180 degrees. All right, so what I did, let's go to the front. Oops, double click to get in it again. Go back to the front. You can see it changed my pi to pi. So equal, which means it'll put whatever I do in this cell. I want cosine of, I multiply by pi, right, and then I divide by 180 degrees, and that'll give me cosine of the radian. And I'm going to do the same thing for the sine. So equals sine, I'm going to multiply by pi, I'm going to multiply that by pi, that cell, that's what I want to access, then divide it all by 180 degrees. And now when I actually fill, it's going to have the values that I need. Okay. All right, I did one mistake because I forgot that I made the radius 5, which was completely arbitrary. So when I go in here, I want 5 times all this. So let's do 5 out front. So 5 times cosine. And then 5 times sine. And now when I drag, these points will actually be on my circle. All right, let's do the same thing here. So let's make them ordered pairs. Let's do x comma y. You can see there's my first one, D2. And I drag, and now I've just put the faces on my clock, or put the face on my clock. Okay. All right, I don't need the spreadsheet anymore. In case for some reason I do, I can just kind of condense it, or if you wanted to, I can get rid of it completely. Just hit the X, because I really don't need it anymore. All right, I would like to, let's make sure my pointer's on. I'd like to kind of, oh, I don't need my axes anymore either. So let's get rid of the axes. All right, and I'm going to just kind of move my D's, my point names, so they kind of jive with the clock face. Oops, I move my whole face, my clock. All right, so I'm just clicking and dragging. Okay, so that looks good. Now I want to change these to the actual numbers themselves. So let's right click on one, get the properties. Okay, you can notice here are all my auxiliary points too that I really aren't seeing right now. I don't need any of those. Right, I need these D's. Right, you can see it organizes property, at least it organizes by type, and I can always close the menu part or the expansion part. So D2. Now here's the weird thing. D2 is the 0 degree, so that's my 3. And I'm going to go counterclockwise. So I need to do 3, then 2, then 1. So the caption now, I want it to be a 3, not a D2. And then here in the show, I need to show just the caption. Right? So now it won't show D2, it'll show the number 3. Let's do the same thing. So now I need a 2. I'll show just the caption. I need a 1. Show the caption. Now I'm up to 12. Show the caption. Now I'm 11. Show the caption. Now I'm 10. Show the caption. 9. Show the caption. 8. Show the caption. 7. Show the caption. 6. Show the caption. 5. Show the caption. And then 4. Show the caption. Now you can see I have all my numbers. Okay, I have that B up there. I'm going to use that in just a second. Then I'll hide it. But here's my clock face. Right? And I could have changed the size of the numbers, all that stuff. Right? So if I go into any one of these. Right? So again, I can just collapse that. I go to D2. Here's the point size I can change. Let's see if I can change the actual text size. So color I can change. Style, that's just the point size, or I can change the actual point itself. Okay, so now it doesn't look like I can change the text size of the actual number. All right, so now what we need to do is let's get our hand, right? So our second hand. So I'm going to need an actual angle on this one. So I want to do angle with a given size. Right? Oh, I need actually a slider first, and I'll show you why we need this. So if I actually did this, I'll go from B to A, and then it wants a size. Well, I need the actual angle to change. Right? So I don't need to be 45. I want it to be whatever I choose. And how do we input stuff? With sliders. So let's get a slider. Okay, and then here will be my angle. So the name is just A is fine. I need it to be an angle though, and I want it to rotate around 0 to 360. Okay, but I want it to go by 6 degrees, right? Because every second, there are 60 seconds in a minute, and 360 divided by 60 would be 6 degrees. So every second should be 6 degrees. All right, so I hit OK, and notice though, it changed from A to alpha. So it's no longer a number, now it's an actual angle. I get the Greek letter for angles that we represent angles with. So I hit OK, and then here's my slider, right? So I'll go from 0 all the way to 360. All right. Okay, so now I can do my angle. Let's go angle with given size. I'll go here, here, and instead of 45 degrees, I want alpha. I can't type alpha, but you'll notice there's a little symbol here. When I click, here's where I get all my Greek letters. So here's alpha. Since it will be a stopwatch, I want it to go clockwise. So I hit OK, right? And then there's my degree. Okay, and that's hooked to, actually right now it's hooked to B prime. And you can see as I move it, see how B moves, B prime moves. All right. All right, I don't need to show beta, so I'm going to click beta off. I don't need to show B anymore, so I'm going to click B off. I do need the B prime because now we need to make our second hand. Let's do a line segment. Let's go from A all the way to B prime. Now you can see as I move B, the second hand moves. Oops, I'm off my slider. All right, so that's how I hooked it. All right, and let's get rid of the actual name. Now that I have my line segment, I don't need B prime and I don't need A anymore. So let's make those disappear. Let's go to F. Let's get to the properties. I don't want to show anything on F, so I'm actually going to turn the label off completely, and then it's gone. The color, I don't know, for some reason, I'll make it blue. And then the style, I will make it pretty thick, though. Let's go to, how about 9? All right, shows up kind of nice. I could change the style, all that good stuff. And you're good. All right, so now you can see I actually have a second hand. All right, and we'll go all the way from 0 to 360. Really can't say on that slider, can I? All right, so what we want to do is actually animate this. And you can see if I go to my slider, and if you're using the app version, there's just a play sign you can do. But on the desktop version, you have to right-click and do animation on. Okay, and you can see that's animating the second hand. All right, we'll let it go all the way to the top so you can see what's going to happen. This is selected as oscillation, which I don't want. All right, so now I'll turn it off. I'll go into my slider properties. And so here's the oscillating part. It's a stopwatch, so I want it to just be increasing. I'm going to go from 0 to 360, then 0 to 360, 0 to 360. And I can time this so I actually get a watch and see if each click is a second. If it isn't, then I can speed it up or I can slow it down to actually fit a second. All right. 1 doesn't necessarily mean 1 second, so just get a watch and see how close you are, and then change the speed based on how far off you are from that second. All right, so now you can see when I go and play this, when I go to 0 now, or 360, it won't oscillate, it'll just keep going. All right, okay, so that's what I want. Oops, I need to turn it off. All right, so now what I want is to do this on an input. Right, so I want an actual button, or I'm sorry, not an input, I want an actual button to turn things on and off. So what are we going to do? Let's go to our button. And so now let's do start. So I want to start the stopwatch. And then to start the stopwatch, I'm going to do start animation. Right. And then I need, what do you want to start? So now here's where I need the Greek letter alpha. You see, alpha is not actually on here. And if you have the desktop version, you can pull up the gear and you can get an alpha that way. But here I'm going to have to view my keyboard. All right, so view my keyboard, and then you can see I have alpha right here. Oop. So when I click alpha, then I can get my letters. So this is a shift, right? That's shifting between actual letters and Greek letters. So then I put alpha. I don't need my keyboard anymore. Then I'll close it, and I'll hit OK. So now when I hit start, again, cancel, wasn't on the pointer. So it still wants me to create all that stuff. Pointer. So you can see that it actually starts the animation. All right, and now I want to stop the animation. So I'll go to alpha and stop because I don't have the play button. You can stop that way. I want you to notice one thing too. You don't see the button here. So if you don't see objects in your algebra view, then just get any one of the properties. It makes no difference. So I'll right click some of the desktop version. You can click the gear. You can see once I do that, I get the list of all my objects in my algebra view. Right? So it doesn't matter which one I open the properties for because I can always go and get the property, right? Because it shows the whole list. And now you'll see button, auxiliary object is checked. If I uncheck it, then I get the actual button to show up. Okay, so if you don't see an object in your algebra view that you want to see, click on the properties, then click on that and check the auxiliary object part. And I don't really need the button, but I'm going to show the button anyway. All right. Okay, so we started it. Now let's stop it. Another button, so let's select it. I'm going to do stop. Okay, and now here we start animation. Now we're going to type false though, and now this will turn everything off. So it's saying start animation false, which means turn everything off. So hit OK. I want to move this around, so there we go. So now you see I can start. Let me stop it. Oh, God. The stupid pointer, I swear, huh? Alright, so let's get rid of button 3. Well, this is nice to show too, so what I want to do... Okay, so it does bring up the point that I actually want to delete this button 3. You can see I can't move it, I can't select it, I can't delete it. Let's do our trick where I go to the properties now, and I can actually click button 3 and show it on my algebra view. But you'll notice I can't actually delete it. I'm highlighting and delete. It's not deleting. Okay, so now why do things not delete? It's because they're fixed. All right, so what I need to do is go to the property window, select my button 3, and see the fixed object. I need to unfix it. Right, and I can also have done that, I think, from the top. Yep, this right here, right, this lock. Right, so if I lock and unlock it, and that definitely comes up when you have the app version. Okay, now you can see I can move it around, and you can see it's unlocked. So once it's unlocked, then I can delete it. All right, so if you cannot delete something, it's because it's locked. All right, so now I don't need my slider bar anymore, so let's hide that. So now I have start, I have stop, so I can actually start and stop my stopwatch, but I can't reset it yet. So every time I stop it, I want it to reset. Okay, so let's do a third button. Let's go to another button, and we'll call this reset. Hit OK. Or not hit OK, we're not there yet. I want to reset. I want it always to go back to beta is 0. All right, so now I'm going to have to get my keyboard again. So I'll turn on my Greek letters, which are already on, and I'll do beta equals 0. So as soon as I hit this button, beta will be set back to 0. All right, and now it's not locked, so I'll put it fixed. So I'll put it here, and now you can see I start, cancel, go back to my move, I stop, and then I can reset. So why didn't it work? Because it needed to be alpha, not beta. So let's go into this property. Let's go to my scripting. Instead of beta, I need alpha. So let's go back to input, alpha. All right, and I hit OK. Now you can see when I hit, when I hit reset, it'll go back to 0. All right, so now I can start, I can stop, and I can reset. Right, I also could have, let's see if this will work, there's no reason why it wouldn't have. Let's go edit our stop button. So if I wanted to, here I have stop is false. Let's hit enter. After I turn off everything, why not just do another command where alpha equals 0. So not only will it stop everything, it'll reset everything. So hit OK. And now you'll see when I start, anytime I stop, it'll go back to 0. Okay. In the stopwatch, I don't particularly like that because you can't see where it ended. Right? So I would do a reset button. But it's an option, so let's go back. And I want to get rid of that. So I hit OK. And now you can see when I actually start, I can stop it and see where it stopped. All right. Okay, so that's that was a quick tutorial or a little activity on the spreadsheet part, but then there were some other things in here that were a little review, right? How to do buttons, how to set up animation on and animation off and all that good stuff. Okay, I do have, I didn't turn it off before, but I should have. Here's a C, right? So it showed my actual circle. So to close this out, let's go here. And I don't want the label, so let's go to basic. So I'll turn the label off. Right? I don't want the caption, I don't want any of that stuff, so I would have turned it off. Right? And now I have my stopwatch. Okay, so that's pretty much it.